We do have a quorum here, so we'll get moving. We appreciate everyone being here. Let's quickly, before we get going, just go around the room and make sure everybody knows who everybody is. Got folks in our audience as well that we want you to know. So we'll start down with Rosie.
Rosie Hernandez with Wasatch Front Regional Council.
Jordan Chandler with WFRC.
Mike Sopchak with WFRC.
Joe Smolka, Immigration Canyon.
Carlton Christensen with Utah Transit Authority.
Mayor Hobb, Lefdale City.
Tammy Tran, Keysville City.
Andrew Gruber with WFRC. Welcome.
And I'm Mark Shepard, Clearfield City Mayor.
Wayne Benyon, WFRC.
Kevin Cromar, Air Quality Board.
Mike Wickers, Mayor of Cottonwood Heights.
Terry Newell, UDOT.
Dan Dugan, Salt Lake City Council.
Lauren Victor, WFRC.
Michaela Jordan, WFRC.
Byron Head, WFRC.
Marion Florence, WFRC.
Kevin Wells, WFRC.
Ben Wethrich with WFRC.
Thank you, everybody. And online, Kevin.
Kevin Van Tassel, Commissioner UDOT.
And then I'm looking to see who else we've got there. I'm just going to read them since we don't have anybody on video. We've got Ann Granado, Jordan Chandler,
Sarah Lawless,
Marcus Stevenson,
Steve Van Maren.
Am
I helping you? Brad Palmer from UDOT, Nicole Bordeaux from UTA, and Hugh Van Wagenen from WFRC.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We've got I won't call it a short meeting. We've got a lot on the agenda and a lot to cover and learn. Andrew, things that we've done, I'll bring you into our chair's report because we had the opportunity to sit down and watch the bills get signed. Great opportunity to see everything that we worked for during the legislative season kind of come to a head. Anything you want to touch base on that?
Well, thanks. It was, I would say, in some ways, a monumental legislative session with regard to transportation. We won't go into much detail because we've talked about this and sent out information about this. And perhaps, Rosie, I'll ask you or Mike to drop into the chat the detailed legislative summary that Miranda Jones-Coxmer office prepared of the session. I'll just note that both at the state level and at the local level, significant funding was provided for transportation through UDOT, and Terry is here, and Kevin Van Tassel from the Transportation Commission, significant funding to help pay UDOT's existing debt service, which will then enable the funds that otherwise would have gone to debt service from UDOT's funding to be used for projects to address inflation impacts, and also then to accelerate some of the projects that are currently in the program, which is really terrific. Also, one-time money provided for transit projects, which is very helpful, and really a watershed moment for active transportation, for trail investment. One-time money of $45 million, and then most notably, the investment of new ongoing, for the first time, ongoing money, meaning every year, $45 million for the what Governor Cox labeled the Utah Trail Network, to build out a regionally significant connected trails all around the state of Utah. And I'll say this approach of investing in roads and transit and trails is completely consistent with everything that WFRC suggests, what Utah's Unified Transportation Plan embodies, taking this balanced approach. And local government funding by way of modifications to the gas tax and vehicle registration fees, specific funding dedicated to rural communities for local transportation, and additional authorizations for local option sales taxes. There's just a lot of good stuff. I could go on and on, as you probably know, but I will endeavor not to do so. Just say that I think we emerged from the session in a really good place, and I think the work that is done by all of you, planning for the future and identifying transportation priorities again, in state roads, local roads, transit, and trails is something that is regarded as incredibly important for the future of Utah, and therefore was invested in by the state this legislative session.
Yeah, it was very helpful.
And to your point, Mayor, the governor did a ceremonial bill signing
yes,
for housing bills and transportation bills, and Mayor Shepherd was there wearing multiple hats, as you often do. And that was just a wonderful thing to be able to sort of celebrate in the Southwest Salt Lake County, the fast-growing Southwest Salt Lake County and Harriman. We did that bill signing. So
the biggest group of townhomes I think I've ever seen in my life.
yeah, it's a lot of growth.
There's an enormous amount of growth, and thus the need for transportation.
Did I cover what you
You
wanted
did.
me
That
to?
was, that
Okay,
was exactly it. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I just, I mean, it doesn't, you do so well on the fly anyway, so. Well, as you've noticed, our agenda today, we need public comment. I didn't see anybody here from the public, but is there anybody that I missed either here or online that is here to speak? Okay, then we will move forward. Our agenda today, we do have minutes. Sorry, I just jumped right from introductions to, we have minutes from February 16th
Mayor
meeting.
Shepherd, but before you get to minutes, can I just, and I think I did as people went around, yesterday, UTA celebrated its 15th anniversary of the opening of Front Runner. That first leg was to the north, so I placed at everybody's place a commemorative pin and a sticker for that, but it was obviously a combined effort, and a lot of you or your predecessors had a big involvement in seeing that move forward, and we know going forward that continued involvement is going to be critical as we go to enhance and improve that service. So thank you.
No, thank you.
And if anybody didn't get a pin, let me know.
It was one of the big reasons I ran for mayor that long ago was and council at that point was the location of Clearfield Station. So and now it's really coming about. So it's
going to be a great addition.
And you also give us the opportunity to remind everybody about the significant investment that the state is making in the strategic double tracking of Front Runner, and the relatively recent announcement that the federal government is putting, Carlton, you'll remind me of the number.
It's about, boy, I'm looking.
It's in the range of $500 million over the course of 2 years.
Yeah, I want to say it's more in the range of 450 million.
Okay.
Does that sound right, Terry? Yeah.
450. What's $50 million?
It's a lot of money. There's some prior year money and some current year money. Of course, it always depends on what Congress ultimately appropriates, but I think it's a huge acknowledgement by the FTA that this is an important project in the nation.
Indeed.
Because it obviously is at the expense of other projects that they could have included in that. So,
thanks.
Thank you, Carlton. Okay, back to the minutes, February 16th, 2023. Do we have a motion on those minutes? Thank you and welcome, Commissioner Harvey.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes stand. So the majority of our meeting today consists almost entirely of items related to the TIP, to the Transportation Improvement Program. The first two items are regarding amendments to the existing TIP, and the last four items are Transcom's annual opportunity to review and recommend projects to add for funding programs administered by the WFRC. As discussed in our meeting in February, the Carbon Reduction Program is a new program administered by the Regional Council, in addition to the Surface Transportation Program, or the SDP, and the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Program, or CMAQ, and the Transportation Alternatives Program, or the TAP. First, we're going to go ahead and turn the time over to Ben to discuss the board modifications.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So today we do have an opportunity to talk about one of the most amazing things, actually. Well, it's one of my most favorite and amazing things, and that's the Transportation Improvement Program, or the TIP as it's commonly referred to. We're currently functioning under the 2023-2028 Transportation Improvement Program. Today, as the chair indicated, we've got 3 items. The first 2 items will pertain to the 2023-2028 TIP. And then the third item, which has 4 parts there, is going to enable or allow us to look at new projects for the draft programs of the 2024-2029 Transportation Improvement Program. So maybe in a quick reference there, as many of you are well familiar with, that the Transportation Improvement Program, or the TIP, is a 6-year program of projects, highway projects, transit projects, and active transportation projects between, well, for the Salt Lake, West Valley urban area and the Ogden-Layton urban area. So essentially from Utah County all the way up to Brigham City. That's a large geographical area. There's a lot of people that live in that area, as you all know. But that's the Wasatch Front area, and that's the opportunity or responsibility that we have to program these projects. These projects in the TIP will implement the long-range plan. They will also help us accomplish the short-range needs and address the maintenance of our current system. And due to the dynamic nature of all of the projects, the timing of projects, funding of the projects, and an occasional scope change, we will have a board modification probably about every time we have the opportunity to meet. So in your meeting materials, you'll have a signed resolution, and attached to that signed resolution are 2 tables. That resolution was the board modification that the regional council took action on when they met back in 2023. This is an item in the packet for your information so that you're aware of the projects that went through that board modification. And that's before you at this time, if there's any questions with any of that material. If that's all right, Mr. Chair, to move on to item B. Thank you. So today then we have another board modification that the regional council has been asked. And now when the regional council doesn't meet, that responsibility has been delegated to Transcom to review and approve the amendments to the existing transportation improvement program. Today we have quite a few projects that need that modification. In your meeting materials, there are 3 tables that are in that, along with a resolution that hopefully at the conclusion of this review we'll have an approval of. So we're going to go through each one of the projects in a quick manner that are identified in those tables. So our very first project is a project in Salt Lake. This is on SR 201. It's a bridge over 3200 West. Now, initially on this project, it was for a bridge deck replacement. As they were looking at the bridge and as they were doing a routine bridge inspection, it was identified that there was also some structural needs that needed to be addressed. So it was going to increase the scope of the project and make it a more holistic project or a bridge repair project. So the scope of this project changed to enhance the work that needed to be done on this particular bridge. But in addition to that, there's another bridge that's not too far away, and this particular bridge is located on 5600 West over I-80. This particular bridge has the same markings, if you want to call it, as the bridge on 201. There definitely needs to be some deck replacement. But then as looking at the structure itself, there were some concerns or needs that needed to be addressed, as well as some conversation with the Region 2, with the Department of Transportation Region 2. They want to look at and identify if this bridge needs to be widened to address the diverging diamond movements that take place on this structure. So this particular portion of this project was added to that initial project because of the design. So the scope change would include the amount of work to be done on SR 201, and then the inclusion of the concept design and improvements for 5600 West. And then the additional funds for that bridge will come in the future. The next project, I might add that the funding amount did not change on this scope modification, just the amount of work and things that were included. The next project that we have to look at is also a project in Salt Lake City. Well, this is going to be exciting. This is a project on 1500 South. Initially, this project was for the southbound overhead signs on I-15 to replace them. But in conversation with the project on I-15 from Salt Lake to Farmington, it was identified that a lot of those overhead signs were going to be replaced. And so let me put up the original scope of the project. After discussion with the I-15 team to the north, the length of this project was shortened, or the amount of signs that needed to be addressed. But Region 2 came to the department and they're requesting that those funds that were saved address additional signs. A sign on SR 201 between essentially Redwood Road and Bangerter Highway. A sign as you approach I-215 interchange up on 33rd South. And a sign on Bangerter Highway as you approach the International Airport. So the request on that project is just to realign where these funds are being included. We reduce the redundancy on I-15. We replace the signs or parts of the signs on 201, SR 171, which is 33rd South on the east side, and then Bangerter Highway near the airport. The funding project amount remains the same at $3 million, and it's to replace those signs that are faded, peeling, or have outlived their life. The next project that we have is another project. This one here is also in Salt Lake City. This is a bridge over Mill Creek. This is on 300 East in South Salt Lake. This particular bridge is in very poor shape. The request here is to remove and replace this structure. And this structure is on the federal aid system, meaning that 300 East is a collector or grader, and so it's on a federal aid system. Because of that, it's necessary that there will need to be a local match on this particular project. Now, here's the real clicker here, the one that you can, sorry for the speed of these slides, hope it doesn't make you dizzy or keep up with me, but here we are there. You can see underneath the structure there. This particular structure will be replaced. The estimated project amount on this structure is $2.5 million of the bridge funding program and $181,000 plus of local funds, giving us $2.6 million of a new bridge project. The next project is also over Mill Creek. This particular project is on 2nd East. This project is only in poor shape. It's not as bad as the other structure, but it's still going over that facility, and the intent is to replace this structure as well. What they'll do is totally remove this and put in a new box culvert bridge system. This project is not on a federal aid system, and so does not require a local match. And so the bridge funding program will fund this entire project. It's estimated at $1.8 million. Now, both these projects are pretty close together, and it's planned that these projects will advertise and be reconstructed together or replaced together. That brings us to the second sheet, or the second table that identifies 3 more projects, part of this board mod. Feel like I didn't eat my Wheaties or something there. This one here is in Weber County. This is on the Ogden Canyon barrier. Now, initially, this project up Ogden Canyon was to replace barrier in strategic locations along this facility. But as they were in doing the inspections for the work, they identified that the rock wall underneath had some significant voids in the area. So they went back, they reevaluated, and the regions come back and ask that we increase the amount of funds on this project to address the voids in the rock wall, as well as replace several of the barriers that need to be replaced. In fact, increasing the number of barriers that need to be replaced. So the new project funding for this project is 3.1+ million, giving us a total estimated cost of 3.5 or 3.85 million. Next project is a project that's also, this one's in South Salt Lake. This is on 5th West. This is to reconstruct with minor widening on this facility between 3300 South and 3900 South. Some of you may remember that this is a project that this board recommended and approved several years ago. This particular project will reconstruct this facility with minor widening, adding shoulder, curb gutter, and sidewalk throughout the system. Now, when this project advertised, it came in well over the engineer's estimate. South Salt Lake, wanting to keep this project moving, acknowledged the fact and stepped forward and says, we'll cover the overcost so that we don't have to wait and inflation drive the project up even more. Well, unfortunately, inflation still caught up to them. The increase exceeded the amount of funds that South Salt Lake had available. So they are requesting an additional $2 million of the urban STP funds, coming to the table with an additional $200,000 of their local funds. This is in addition to $2 million that the city put in when it came in over the engineer's estimate. Part of the cost increase on this is normal with a lot of our projects right now, but that's our mobilization, traffic control, the roadway excavation, as well as the granular barrel and the hot asphalt mix increase that cost of the project. The next project is in the Transportation Alternative Program. Now, this is an exciting part, but these are transportation alternative programs with the region. They include alternative transportation projects that involve non-motorized. So we've got bikes, we've got recreational trails, and we've also got safe routes to school type of projects. Each of the regions have a pot of money in their TAP program that they solicit for projects from the local governments. Region 2 put out that request, the request for applications in the early part of this year, and they are asking that we approve the 6 projects in our area for the TAP program to be amended into the existing TIP. So the first project we'll look at that's on the last of this sheet here is Taylorsville. This particular project will construct missing sidewalk here at 27th West and 6570 South. Now, if we zoom in here on this facility, you can see the issue or the problem we have where that sidewalk comes right to the chain link fence on the east side of the project. And then on the west side of the project, you have to totally go around the structure into the road. So it'll reconstruct, or excuse me, it'll construct missing sidewalk on this particular project. Estimated cost is $650,000. They've requested $50,000 of those TAP funds from Region 2, and they're bringing to the table $600,000. Well done to the city. That brings us to the last sheet that identifies the last 6 projects that are part of this board mod. First project here is another TAP project. This one's in Holiday. This is a project up on 27th East. This is to construct missing sidewalk between 39th South and Morningside Drive. This particular project forces students are the biggest user of this area. These were tied together to go real fast. Just imagine what they do if they weren't tied together. This project here is estimated here at $500,000. There's a TAP funding request of $300,000 and a local fund contribution of $200,000. The next project also in the TAP request here is in Cottonwood Heights. This project's on 17th East. This project is between Fort Union Boulevard and 7200 South. This is also to construct missing sidewalk in this area, also a facility that's highly used by school-age children, where they really don't have much of a shoulder to walk on. This project is estimated to cost $763,000. They requested $300,000 of the TAP funds, and they're bringing to the table $463,000. The next project also in the TAP program, this is in Bluffdale. This is also to construct missing sidewalk on 140th South. This project is between 1741 West and 9 West. Did I make someone dizzy going too fast? This particular project here will construct sidewalk on both sides of the road, a low dollar volume or low dollar amount. Estimated to cost here, right there, 60,000, 36,000, the TAP contributions, 24,000 coming from local funds. Two more in the TAP program. The one in Mill Creek, this is on Columbia Avenue, 400 East to State Street. This is to construct missing sidewalk along that facility right there, just a partial block. Fairly busy location, nowhere to walk but in the road. This particular project is estimated to cost $205,000 with a request for TAP funds of $123,000 and a local contribution of $82,000. And then the last TAP project is in White City. This is on the White City Canal Trail. Beautiful facility here. This facility or this request is to install lighting in strategic locations along this trail, beginning here west of the elementary school down into the Bear Park. And then traveling down south. See, as it crosses each of the local jurisdictions or each of the roadways there, total cost is $126,500. TAP funding request is $76,000. Funding local is $50,000 plus. Our last project in this board modification is a request from UTA. Now, as you know, UTA has been working very hard to secure and protect the corridor in Weber County and Box Elder County. Last year, this body met, recommended and approved $1.5 million for corridor preservation from 12th Street up through Weber County. Since that time, UTA has met with the landowner along the corridor there, just east of 400 North Street, that's willing to sell at the appraised amount. So UTA requested that we advance these funds. Oh, I skipped a good part here. There's a yellow circle. No, I'm kidding. Inside the yellow circle there, that's the intersection of a future bridge that's been identified on the regional transportation plan. Now it's a phase 2 project, but the advantage of securing the right of way now is it gives us the location for this structure as well as the future location of the existing facility that'll go from 400 North to Wall Street. This particular structure will enable UTA to either put an additional station in the BDO or a maintenance facility, but it secures the property. The request is to bring the $1.5 million from our concept development years, which is at this point, 2028, into the funded year so that they can move forward and purchase the right of way. Now, just a note here, when we move money around in a program, if it's in the funded year, meaning the first 4 years of the program, it does not require a board modification. But if we bring money from our out years in our concept development years into the current years, that requires a board modification. Hence, that's why this request comes to you today. Mr. Chair, that is all the projects of this speedy board modification.
Thank you, Ben. Any questions for Ben in regards to the board modifications? Yes, Carlson.
I'm just looking for some assurance that in the I-15 sign replacement, that's not Terry in a bucket truck over the moving cars that does that. Okay, that just seems kind of dangerous for you, Terry.
Thanks for your concern, Carlton, but no, it won't be me.
Okay.
All right, seeing no other concerns, entertain a motion on the board modifications.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we approve those modifications.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that is unanimous. And that, Ben, we're going to turn the time right back over to you. Talk about 2429.
Thank you. This is an exciting opportunity here. With a little drum roll in the background here, we're going to talk, thank you, Commissioner. And thank you. So we're going to talk about the new projects for the future programs of the 2024-2029 TIP. We've got 4 programs now that the Wasatch Front Regional Council has the responsibility to coordinate and program. This is essential of the Transcom Committee. You're the one that reviews these projects into programs and makes those recommendations to the Regional Council. This meeting is an important meeting for us to move forward in our draft transportation improvement program. So where does this all begin? Well, this all began last year. It actually began in August when we went to the Regional Council requesting that we go out, requesting letters of intent. So in September, as our little diagram shows, we sent out letters of intent requesting that project sponsors, whether they be local governments, UTA or UDOT, to submit a letter of intent to submit a concept report on a draft project. Essentially, all that letter of intent was, we've got project X that's gonna do this and may cost this. That's what a letter of intent. That information comes into the staff. We review it on a very high level for eligibility, and then we request that the project sponsor prepare a project evaluation concept report application for a shorter term. Then we begin our project evaluation period, the latter part of December, January, February, and March. We'll get into the details more on that schedule, but that brings us to where we are today. So in March, when the TAC committees, which is made up of all your city engineers and public work personnel, those individuals make up these committees. They review the projects. They've reviewed the projects multiple times up to that meeting point. But in the March meeting is when they make a recommendation that we bring to you for your approval and recommendation to the Regional Council that they include these projects in the draft programs. You're going to review and approve the new projects. And so very key responsibility and opportunity that we have today. Well, here we are in the Ogden-Layton area. What did we get to look at? Well, we had 55 projects that were submitted. Those 55 projects, total project cost was well over $380 million. That's not all the needs. Those are the ones that were just submitted. And those are the ones that were eligible to submit. So of those 55 projects, 27 of them were STP requests, and that federal STP request was more than 89 million. Then there was 10 projects requesting CMAQ funds for 14.8 plus million, and we had an available amount of 5.5 million. And you can see how that is for the TAP, and you can see how that is for the carbon reduction program, the new program, CRP. We had 10 requests, more than 14.8 million also. Kind of coincidental that they're the same as the CMAQ, right? Well, let's look at the Salt Lake. So in the Salt Lake area, we had 70 projects, and those 70 projects estimated more than $595 million on those 70 projects. Same. These are the ones that were eligible that submitted for the projects. We had 33 STP projects, 14 CMAQ, 10 TAP, and 13 CRP. 148 million plus was requested in STP funds for an available amount of 27 million. In the CMAQ, 52, almost 53 million against 11 million available. TAP, there was almost 19 million in request, and the CRP, almost 38 million. A lot of needs, a lot of good projects to look at. Well, when we request that information, we send out all of these forms here that the project sponsors They fill all that out. And what does all that do? That gives us a lot of data. And from that data, we're able to measure project against project, the speeds, the lengths, the volumes, the improvement types. We're able to look at all that from the data and be able to measure rock against rock. Well, that didn't make sense, but oranges to oranges. Well, that's great because from that data, then we can identify a score. And we can identify and base that score on maybe congestion, the speed, the time. What does it take us to move through there? The access to opportunities, number of jobs, number of employments, equity. We look at the pavement conditions, safety, emissions, and air quality. These are just a few of many criteria that we look at, that we collect the data for, that we can actually measure and quantify an amount or a value. And we get a score. And that is perfect. That's great. Well, not quite perfect because there are other reasons why you want to identify a good project, right? We refer to these as other relevant professional considerations. Those are things you really can't put a measurement to. You really can't put a number or a score against. Maybe our field review comments when we were out in the field. What's something that caught our attention or what raised the flag of an urgency? We've got equity of funding. How are those funds distributed geographically through the area? Maybe one city has been successful for multiple years, has a lot of projects where another one doesn't have any, but yet it's a good project. We got sponsored project history. We got project synergy. We got project timing efficiencies, complete systems, matching funds. Now the matching funds, you can put a number to that. But what you can't put a number to is a little tiny community that doesn't even have funding to have staff against a large metropolitan city that's got a boatload of folks. It would easily dwarf what the little guy could bring to the table. So you look at how does that match come and what is really justified in the amount of equity, if we can look at that. Well, wow, that's real cool, Ben, you say, I say. Anyway, here it is. But you know, maybe there's another way we can illustrate this or understand it, maybe just a little more. And so if it's all right, we're gonna have just a little maybe object lesson to kind of explain this whole concept. Is that all right?
Same.
As Ben is just setting up here, I want to just note, I leaned over to Mayor Shepherd and I noted that with the huge volume of requests coming from your communities that far exceed the amount of money that's available, it's critically important that the process we use for awarding funding be transparent and be criteria driven. And we want you to really understand the process that we go through with your communities, with your engineers and your planners, and with you as a committee. So with that, I'll turn it back to the chef.
Well, I don't know. If I could just do I can't even remember what her name is. Anyway, so we will. So I want to propose, look, no. Yes.
Don't cut your finger off.
Yes, no, I'm kidding. So right here, here's what I want to propose to you to really make you a part of this. I want to propose that these are our projects. This is project A, this is project B, and that's what we see when we get a letter of intent. We see two projects that both essentially could accomplish the same task. Not much difference. They're both clean. And they're both ready to do whatever they're supposed to do. Well, that's when we get our letters of intent. We do a real high level evaluation on criteria. Both these projects are eligible to submit a concept report. Supply us with the data so we know what this project is actually going to do. So we're going to bring out some data. Data. So this is data. So we're going to look at the project A. So project A sent in their concept report and their information. Some of that information could be number of accidents or It could be maybe the speed of the facility or the number of users. It could also be the volume of road. This is a good project. Just look at the data. Why? I think there's still some more data coming in. That baby just has the data, okay? So, wow, what a good project, you say. Well, then we start looking at Project B. Project B comes in with that same information. The length of the facility, the speed of the road, the number of users. What's our daily average traffic numbers? What about some of our safety concerns? What are other things that are going to be addressed? And we look at that data. Well, hot dog, we're done. I don't know if either one of you, I mean, we could really stop right now and move forward. And I bet either project would taste delicious. However, if you're like me, what project are you going to choose? A, definitely. And that's what we'd have to go with if it was just the data. And if that's the case, awesome. But let's look at other relevant professional considerations. For example, when we were out on the field review, there we were standing on the shoulder of a road that initially it didn't look like it was very busy. It had about a 3-foot shoulder. It had a traffic lane. It had a stripe, had a traffic lane, had a 3-foot shoulder. Cars were coming, no big deal. And then all of a sudden, here comes this little first grader on his bike down this 3-foot shoulder. There's a ditch on the other side. If we weren't out there on site, we could have looked at Google and said, nice road. I can see we need something there, but not a big deal. But now we've got a little kid coming down the side of the road, just a couple of feet from a car that is cautious, but that car's still moving at a pretty good clip. Well, out on the field review, those are some of the things we identify and we mark. So this is our field review. So what happened out on the field review? Holy cow. Look how successful we were. What about Project A? You know, that's a really good project. But we didn't really see much more benefit out on the field review than we got from the data. So the field review really didn't change our mind or add anything to Project A. Well, okay. Well, let's look at project sponsor history. You know, that's a real problem because if we have project sponsors that aren't moving fast on their projects, it ties up the federal funds, ties up the programs. And then Terry, with the department, gets very frustrated because our money's not getting used. I was going to say bugs up, but it boggles. Anyway, it really messes up their program, causes them a lot of problems at the region. So project sponsor history is a big deal. But you know what? Project A and B, they both are pretty good sponsors. In fact, I think they both would get good recognition. Okay, well, hot dog. Well, then we move in. What about equity of funding? You know, Project A is such a growing community. It's got projects on the books and they're really going. And this little community is working hard. They've got things going. They're not growing as fast, but they got nothing on the program. And so if we look at equity between project sponsors, this is another one where perhaps we're going to look at the needs here of Project B. I think that's some pretty good needs. Well, that's pretty good there. Then what we got is what one of our favorites is to call synergy. Wow, what's synergy? Well, synergy happens when there's something, if you're building something and something else is happening, you get a lot bigger product for the bang than if this happens here, and then this happens there. And so we look at Project Synergy. How does that happen? Well, look at Project Synergy now. Not much in A, but B, whoa.
Look at that delicious synergy.
I think Project B has really got that synergy. We're going to give that to Project B. I mean, there's quite a bit of benefit if we go with B right now. This may be a good one later or anytime, but this one's going to give us a bigger bang for the buck. Well, then maybe just a couple of more, because we could go on for quite a while, but why don't we look at sorry, had to get off some of that synergy. So what if we look at the efficiencies, timing efficiencies? Well, you know, we got a lot coming here, but Project A's also got some, you know, we've got a new school going in. Actually, it's a reconstruct or remodeling of a school, but the facility needs to be reconstructed now. So we could get a benefit there if we put our project in there and we could get things moving forward. Well, all right. So how about why don't we just wrap this up with maybe which project will help us complete the system? Project B. Oh, no, look, the system rolled off. Project B will help us complete the system. Project A is a first of many opportunities to continue on with the system. But if we were to look at other relevant, oh, it's gone. Other relevant considerations, that helps us identify a project. Now, which one do we have? They both look really delicious, right? But which one would you choose with all the other information? Which brings you the most for the amount of funds we have available? If we could fund them all, no question, both projects would move forward. Same when we go through the tables that you'll see in just a minute. But utilizing all of our resources enables us to identify the best project for the amount of funds we have available. Does that kind of make sense? So is there any questions with that? Then, Mr. Chair, if we could pause for just a second.
Absolutely.
Because unless you really physically participate, you have no idea what I'm talking about. So they're in the freezer.
Rosie has the numbers.
So 2 people on this table are going to receive those ice cream sundaes.
You mean those projects?
Those projects, yes. And I'm going to draw 2 numbers.
So this will be based on the microphone that would be sitting in front of you or being shared with you and the neighbor.
That's you.
So going clockwise, there's 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B.
And we only
Andrew,
have one spot where they're
are-
actually sitting next to each other. So
They've all got a microphone.
May have to try a couple.
they've all got a microphone. So yeah.
So we have 14A. I want to say that's Dan Dugan. Okay.
That was for Project B.
Oh.
There you go. Okay, who's getting Project A? Here, you do it.
Who had it? 14?
Yeah, right there at
14.
the end.
14A.
Congratulations, Russ. Russ Fox,
9A.
UTA Planning
9A.
Director. What?
Our
Oh, the
chair.
The chair gets
Yes.
Project A. All right. Way to go. Way to go, Mr. Chair.
That is a massive project, guys.
Wow. And if you wanted, they could still add some other relevant professional considerations on
Yes.
there if you want them.
As I say, I think I need to add some data to my project. I got plenty of data. I need relevant information for my project.
Everyone is passing around some ice cream, so everyone will get to have ice cream today.
Projects. They're
Everyone,
just smaller
everyone gets some projects. Unlike the real program, everybody gets a project today.
That's right.
You're welcome.
Well, and
You get a project.
And hopefully, I mean, you know, Ben does this each year, and it's, I mean, I go back to the first time I heard him or watched him make this presentation years ago. And to me, it was a great representation of how things are. When you look at that list of, I mean, Davis County, 387 million, I think it was, you know, a project submitted for a whole lot less money than that. And you just say, how on earth do you weigh those out against each other? I mean, if I'm going for a project, I mean, Clearfield has what I obviously as the mayor think is the best stinking project in the world and the most justified project out there. But Mayor Tran's got one in Kaysville. I'm going to look at hers and go, yeah, it's Kaysville. It's just not as good a project. And if it's hers selected, I am likely going to look at that or have someone on my council look at that and say, well, that's just not fair. It's always Kaysville. Kaysville gets this. But it allows me to be able to say, no, there's a justifiable reason. And it's not saying that ours is a bad project. It just means that our project, you know, is not quite as necessary or as feasible or as everything else as Kaysville's is. So I really enjoy it. And so just don't lose sight of the why, but this, you know, this is the meeting of the year. This is why all of those people online are going, huh, I have to go buy my own ice cream. And when COVID was going around, I had to actually go across the street to Cold Stone and get my own ice cream because it was terrible. And I sat there during the meeting and ate Cold Stone. But, okay. Well, Ben, before you go on, I need to add a little bit of, you know, project.
Do you need other project
Other
info?
relevant professional considerations. Yeah.
Yes. It is.
And I'll just say, Ben, thank you very much. Thank you. Well done, Ben. And just as a personal professional matter while the chair is improving his project, I'm just going to make a lament that I've been here for a while and I don't think I've ever gotten Project B in all of these meetings. So I don't know, maybe next year. There's always next year, Ben.
Thank
you. Yeah, you're crying for me. Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, man, we'll go ahead and let you continue now and talk about our project.
Okay. I might get the thing sticky here. All right. So when we're looking at the resources for project selection, there's a lot of factors that go into this. And also as part of those factors is you. You are the one that will take this information and you'll make the recommendation to the regional council on the project. So in your materials, you've got a copy of everything on the charts. There is a summarized version of all the tables that shows. So like this very first table, this is the STP program. And you can see we've collapsed it down to where we show some of the criteria and we show the scores. We sorted them by scores. And then we highlighted them by the projects that were recommended. And then the blue column identifies the funds that were recommended by the technical advisory committees. And so we've got that for each of the 4 programs. Here's the CMAC. And then we've got the TAP, or I was going to say TARP, the TAP program. So I want to add something different to the why this one has a little more coloring in it is because in the TAP program, there's actually 3 general areas that TAP funds can be used for. They can be used for capital improvements, which we usually show by the blue color. Then there's a red color for planning projects. We had no planning, so we collapsed that out. And then the green are safe routes to school. And they have different criteria. And so to facilitate it, so we didn't just have one, different table for each, we combined the table. So that's why we got a little more coloring in. Just to save us some time. Wayne.
I think your mic just came back on, so
Oh,
I think we're good. Thank you.
all right. Sorry, I'll hold more still. Thanks, Wayne. So here we are in the STP program. Are we okay, Mr. Chair, if we just proceed through? We'll do one program at a time, have the discussion and take the action. Would that be appropriate? Thank you. So in the STP program, we had 7 projects recommended in the Ogden-Layton area, and they totaled a little more than $11 million. In the Salt Lake West Valley area, we had 10 projects that were recommended, and they totaled $26.9 million. So going through those projects, here we are in a real quick manner, and we've got these slides available online. You can dig them in or dig into them a little deeper if you like. But the one project, first one being recommended in the STP in the Ogden-Layton area is the West Bountiful 11th West project. This will widen, giving us a shoulder, curb gutter, and sidewalk on the east side between 200 North, 400 North, requested 750,000 plus. This was a project that was reviewed and approved by this committee last year, recommended to the regional council. However, the amount was different. As they got in and looking at it, they identified some things that they skipped and missed. And not knowing, they submitted for the whole project again. When we reviewed all the data and all the information, it was necessary that they're 150,000 short. We could have taken care of that in the board mob, but it was appropriately done through this process. And so they were recommended 150,000 more. Now, I won't go into that much detail on every project unless you have a question. So we're going to move a little quicker here. The next project was a request in Centerville City. This on 1250 West between Parish Lane and 200 North. This is to reconstruct this facility. Funds requested was 500,000 plus. TAC recommended 500,000 for this project. The next project is a project in Ogden. This is on 2nd Street. This is reconstruct with minor widening on this facility, a very expensive, well-needed project, $7+ million. That's a lot when we only had 11 million available to program. The TAC recommended that we program 3 million, and in discussion with the project sponsor, they were comfortable with being able to go and obtain other funds. We had that privilege and opportunity with WACOG. We work well with Weber County. We work well with each of the counties as we move forward. And so we can dovetail our resources on this particular project. The next project is a project in Farmington. This is on 200 East. This is reconstruct a minor widening, putting curb, gutter, and sidewalk on the east side of the facility. This is the only location that it doesn't exist right now between Glover's Lane and Lund Lane. It's estimated at $3.6 million or the request, and it was recommended $2 million. Again, discussion with the project sponsor. They were comfortable with finding the remaining amount. The next project is in Clinton City. This is a project that we reviewed and approved funding before. Cost inflation has lifted the cost of this project. They requested an additional $1.8 million on the project. TAC recommended an additional $1 million. The reality or the real, we'll get to a reason more on this. There's another project that was in the area that was recommended as a higher priority, but recognizing this one needs these funds to move forward. The next project is a project in Far West. It's on 3300 North. This is to construct a roundabout and road widening on 3300 North between 2700 West, 2575 West is safe routes to school area. Neighborhood, very dangerous intersection there. Requested 2.4+ million. The TAC recommended the $2.4 million. Next project is in Brigham City. This is on 12th West. This is to widen 12th West between 6th North and Industrial Way. Again, 6.5 million plus, a lot of money. They've done a lot of work securing the right of way for this project. TAC recommended that we program $2 million on this project, working with Brigham City. They are very happy and we'll move forward with identifying additional funds. That brings us into the Salt Lake West Valley urban area. The first project is an intersection there in South Jordan on 4000 West, South Jordan Parkway. This project is to add additional turning movements on all 4 legs of this intersection, requesting $1.5 million. That's the shortfall of funds that were programmed for this project the year before. TAC recommended $1.5 million on the project. Next project is in Salt Lake City on 9th West. This is to reconstruct 9th West, make it a more multi-use facility between North Temple, 600 North. The request was for 3.2+ million. They did get some money last year on this project. So the TAC recommended the 3 million on this project. Next project is in Compton Heights. This is on Fort Union Boulevard. This is to reconstruct with minor widening between Pittman Drive and 3160 East. The request was for $5.3 million, but they're going in with some other work that's going to reduce the cost of that project. They're going in with a major water line and other infrastructure that will do some of the work for us. So with that conversation, the TAC's recommending $2.5 million on this project. The next project is a request in West Valley on 7200 West. This is actually a joint request from West Valley and Magna. This between 3500 South and Copper Hill Drive. This is to reconstruct curb gutter, sidewalk, and shoulder improvements on this well lived out and used up facility. Funds requested 2.4+ million. The TAC recommended the 2.4 million. Next project is in Draper City. This is on Pioneer Road. This is a section of Pioneer Road to the east or north end. It's a very narrow road, lack of shoulders. You've got some drops or elevations differences between the shoulders and the road itself. This is between 13th East and 1650 East. Funds requested was 4.1+ million. The TAC recommended the $3 million. Draper City, again, with that conversation, was pleased and willing to go find the additional funds. Next project is in Mill Creek City. This is on 2000 East. This is to reconstruct this facility and put in a consistent sidewalk curb gutter. This particular project, 7.3+ is the ask. TAC recommended that we fund $3 million, and Mill Creek City is in the process of going after some other funds with the county and other resources. The next project is in West Jordan. It's on 90th South. This is new construction. This is the new Bingham Highway in 90th South. Essentially, since this project evaluation, the request has come in with recommendations from staff and the Department of Transportation that the title of this project change to the intersection of New Bingham and 90th South. To make those improvements, funding request was 4.9+ million. They do have 3 million already on that project, but the project estimate, as you can see, is 10 million. When the 3 million were approved last year, there was other factors involved. It was short on that end too, so the TAC recommended that we go $2.5 million to make that whole and improve the intersection and then change the title or the name of the project. The next project is in Harriman City. This is on 134 South widening. This will take this facility and make it a 5-lane section on road. Funds being requested is 7+ million. The TAC recommended that we program $3 million. Harriman City is content with the recommendation. The next project is in Magna. This is a Metro Township. This is 2700 South. We've got other projects east on 2700 South, including an intersection and sidewalks further east. This particular roadway will eventually be a route off of Mountain View Corridor as you come through West Valley and then into Magna. This particular area is to build sidewalk. These kids are walking, as you can see right there, about as far off the road as you can. This road will soon become a very busy facility. Funds requested were 3.2+ million. TAC recommended the $3 million for this project, potentially dovetailing into the project we have to the east. The next project is a project in immigration. This is the Immigration Canyon Road Safety Improvement. Now, immigration has a tough time competing with the urban area, especially if you're looking at the volumes and numbers and other things like that that just don't exist there. But you start looking at the active transportation use and the safety concerns up there, and it ranks up there very high. This particular project will address and can be adjusted accordingly, but the TAC recommended that we program the remaining amount of funds, which is $3 million on this project toward the safety improvements on Immigration Canyon Road. That is all of the STP projects.
Thank you, Ben. Any questions regarding the STP projects? Okay. Yes, go ahead, Kevin.
Hey, Ben, for those projects you mentioned in Magna and Immigration Canyon, seems like those could be eligible for TAP projects. Or the reason they're STP projects is the dollar amount, or what was the considerations to have them in STP versus TAP?
Excellent question. There's actually two reasons. So they are eligible for the STP funds. They do far exceed the amount that we have available in the TAP program. This year in the Salt Lake area, we had about $3+ million in the program in the Salt Lake area, and this wouldn't address either one of them if we use the whole program on the one project. However, we do get the roadway improvements as well, and STP funds can be used on projects that will enhance more than just the roadway itself. And so we're looking at multiple. This is one of those where safety probably played a big role in both those projects.
I have a quick follow-up. Yeah, I agree. I think they're worthy projects. I was wondering if cities have an awareness that if they have a project they know is too expensive for TAP, do they know they can put in that project for STP? Is that commonly known amongst the cities that that's a mechanism they can use?
It is actually another good question. So what we try to do is when we get the letters of intent and we do the real high level evaluation on criteria, we'll push back. And at this point, we work hand in hand with the TLC program as well, looking at those other programs WFRC has. And we push back and recommend what we think. And we'll recommend multiple programs to give us an opportunity to look at that. Some of these you're going to see in other programs that are coming around as well. So yes, we try to utilize every opportunity we can to help the project.
So in other words, just as an additional clarification, if a project sponsor submits something to the TAP program or to the CMAQ program, if WFRC staff sees that it can be eligible for one of the other programs, then we'll recommend it be considered in both programs rather than just one program.
Thank you.
And that's in part why we do the two-step process. First step, letter of intent, really easy to do for a community, doesn't take a significant investment of resources to submit. And then it allows us to have that dialogue with the community and say, how about you apply here? How about you apply there? So that it's not like the community gets stuck because bureaucratically they didn't know which program to apply for. We're working with the communities and then we say, you might be better off applying in this other program. And then the investment of time and energy in submitting a full application is going to be more effective.
Thank you, Andrew.
That is a good question. Thanks, Kevin.
If I could even add a little more to that, we do the same with UTA and UDOT. As we work in the programming, we're continually looking at opportunities where some of the TAP projects that you saw in Region 2, for example, were ones that were being considered on our side too. But UDOT has an advantage on some of their programming that doesn't require some of the requirements our programs have. So we look for advantages as well to get the most out of the dollar.
Excellent. Thank you, Ben. Hey, do we have a motion on the STP funding? We need a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion that we approve this funding as presented.
This is we need to recommend this to the regional council.
And recommend it to the regional council.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Ben, let's talk CMAQ.
Wonderful, thank you. So in the CMAQ, or the Congestion Mitigation Air Quality Program, we had 4 projects that were recommended in the Ogden-Layton area, totaling $5.3+ million. We had 5 projects in the Salt Lake West Valley area, totaling $11+ million. Now, some of these numbers might seem higher than what you're used to in the past, and they are, because if you'll recall, we came back, we requested in a prior meeting that because the CRP program was approved, but we didn't get any guidance, but we had federal fiscal year 2022 that was ticking past. We had federal fiscal year 2023, which we were in the middle of, and we were already through our process last year. we had no guidance or direction to be able to get those funds programmed. Generally, when we program a project, if we're on a fast track doing the best we can, with the amazing help we get with UDOT project managers, it still takes us anywhere between 2 to 4 years to move a project through the federal process. And that's if everybody's on top of it and we're moving fast. So essentially, we would add the whole CRP program the first year's gone and we would have lost it. So with this body made recommendations that we were able to identify eligible projects in the CMAQ program and move those front 2 years into the CRP, utilizing those CRP program funds, freeing up the CMAQ dollars. That's why we've got so much money to program this year in the CMAQ program. Normally we have 2 to 3 million in the Ogden area, and we have about 4 to 5 million in the Salt Lake area. So that kind of doubled it for us. So you did amazing.
Ben, thank you. Let me briefly just reframe that a little bit. The CRP is the new federal program that this is the first year we were just doing it, and we were waiting on federal guidance. And so rather than waiting and risking not putting the money to use, we combined it with our our existing CMAQ program to put the resources to use. Just trying to simplify it a little bit to make sure everybody's got it. And before we did that, we actually talked about that approach with you as a committee, and everybody seemed comfortable.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, thanks. A lot of acronyms, so I just wanted to pause for a moment on that one. Thanks, Ben.
Okay, so in our congestion mitigation air quality program, the projects that we got, the first one here in the Ogden-Layton area was the bus electric charging stations en route. This will initially go for the Ogden BRT electric buses between the Intermodal Center, the university, and then over to the hospital here. This will put another electric charging station there. The request was 1.3+ million, and TAC recommended that we do the 1.3+ million for that charger. The next project is in Ogden City. This is to continue to expand the bike share program. The request for 632,000 plus, the TAC recommended the full requested amount. The next project is in North Salt Lake. This is Center Street widening active transportation improvement. This is for future development to the west of this location, as well as the area there in North Salt Lake. The requested amount was 553,000 plus, and the TAC recommended the full requested amount. The next project is in Clinton City. This is the other project that I kind of referenced in the SDP. This project is a project that is asking for a ped crossing over under SR 108. SR 108 is 2000 West there in Davis County, a very, very busy facility. It currently is a 5-lane road. It's being expanded to a 7-lane road, and almost exactly at this location is where the next phase of the project ends. The department says we can go a little further and go over this area, but if we do that, this project, there's no way we're letting you cut our brand new road to put in a facility to go underneath. And so as we're looking at it and strategizing and realizing that it's either you put a bridge or an underpass or you put a signal. And we put a signal on the 7-lane facility between 2 signals, which will already be a hard one to pass with the department. It wouldn't happen. This project had a lot of benefits that brought about. The request was 2.7+ million, and TAC recommended the full requested amount. The next project started us in the Salt Lake area. The first project there is the Salt Lake on-route electric bus charging infrastructure. It's intended the UTA is slowly switching out their fleet for electric buses. This will allow additional charging stations to enable them buses to pull up. You can see how it works. It's kind of like Star Wars type, as that foot drops down on the bus while they're there for a small amount of time to charge it before it moves on its route. The requested amount was 2.7+ million. TAC recommended part of it. We'll get to the other part in another program, but we got 1 million, 1.2+ million project or recommended for the project. Next project is an intersection in Sandy and Draper. This is on 114 South, 7th East. This is to add dual left turning movements. This is a very busy facility. The request was for $3.3+ million. The TAC recommended the full requested amount. The next project is in Salt Lake City. This is to continue to expand their green bike program. A lot of these projects now, as we're been building out, it's enabling them now. The expansions that you'll see in the next year or so will be more to the west. And as it continues to grow throughout the city, the requested amount was $641,000+, and the TAC recommended the full requested amount. Next project is the Mid-Valley Connector electric buses. Someone's got to use the chargers we just programmed. So this is for the charger. They're about $1 million a bus. And so the TAC recommended that we do $2 million on the request. The next project is a project in Sandy City. Now this is similar to the one that's requested in Clinton, but this is an overpass. This is where you go up 90th South and you turn that curve that goes over to 9400 South before you go up. There's a lot of neighborhoods on both sides of that facility, but the nearest crossing location is a mile in either direction. This would require that you put a signal or a hawk in the middle of that curve, or as you come out of the curve, which would really knock down the traffic. The idea is, because of the grade, we could put a structure right across the grade there and tie in the existing facilities. TAC recommended that they have the full requested amount at $3.7+ million. That's all the projects in the Salt Lakes or in the CMAQ program.
Any questions for Ben and the CMAQ projects? Okay, seeing none, entertain a motion to forward that to recommend approval of the council.
Recommend we approve that, send it to the council, the full board for review or approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, Ben.
Wonderful, thank you. So now we'll move on to the TAP program, Transportation Alternative Program here. We have 4 projects recommended in the Ogden-Layton area for $2.8+ million, 5 projects recommended in the Salt Lake West Valley area for $3.4+ million. We were close on the numbers when we were trying to remember there. First project is in Layton City. This is the Davis-Weber Canal Trail. It's an exciting facility, bike ped facility, has a lot of locations that'll open up and tie together. Requested amount was $327,000+. The TAC recommended the full requested amount. The next project that we have is a project in Centerville City. This project on Porter Lane, it's a multi-use trail between 4th West and the South Frontage Road. The requested amount is $151,000+. The TAC recommended the full requested amount of $151,000+. Next project is in South Ogden City. This is on Adams Avenue. This is Safe Routes to School. This is a sidewalk on the west side of 4000. There's no sidewalk on the west side or the east side either once you start down this road. On the field review, we stood as we watched several people come down and have to cross through the traffic and walk down the shoulder of the other side of the road. The requested amount was $1.8+ million, and the TAC recommended $1.6+ million, with the encouragement that they work with the golf course there on the side to maybe secure some of that right away and reduce the cost of the project. The next project is in South Weber City. This on the Weber River Parkway Trail. You may recall this. You approved and recommended 2 phases. This phase will complete this whole facility. And so outside of some road reconstruction, but that's another story. But this particular trail facility here is between phase 3 and phase 4. Requested amount is $682,000+, and the TAC recommended the full requested amount. That brings us into the Salt Lake West Valley urban area. And this first project is for bike lanes on 3900 South between Redwood Road and the Jordan River, about a mile in length. Requested amount is $9.2+ million. That includes roadway improvements. Looking at these funds for the bike lane improvements, the $1.1+ million will go towards the bike lane improvements. The next project is in Kearns. This is for a sidewalk on 4220 West sidewalk, as well as address some of the drainage issues, elevations, concerns. and access management. This is Safe Routes to School, requested 122,000 plus. TAC recommended the full requested amount. Next project is in White City Metro Township. This is on Seagull Lily Crossing on 1300 East. This particular intersection has a leg on the west side that drops off significant. It's so steep that they moved the crosswalk for everybody down about 100 feet from the intersection for the school kids to cross and anyone else. Anyone that's in needing assistance, like a wheelchair or anything else, has to go down the hill or try to make it up the hill. The idea is this is to address the grade of this intersection to make a crossing there at the intersection. Estimated cost is 1.1 plus million. The TAC recommended the full requested amount of a little more than $1 million. And the next project is in Harriman City. This is a Rose Crest bike lane intersection or installation, sorry, on 134 South to the Mountain View corridor. Quite a large project. This will tail, or you can see the orange line on the map is the project that this body recommended and approved last year. This will complete this system, requested at 389,000 plus, and the TAC recommended the full requested amount. The next project is in Mill Creek. This is the Safe Routes to School on South Birch Drive sidewalk. This is a ped bike facility. Neither side of the road has sidewalk, and then it has a roll curb or gutter. This is to construct sidewalk on one side of the facility and parking on the other. Requested amount is 758,000 plus. TAC recommended the full requested amount. Whoops, we lost my blue screen, but that is all of the projects in the TAP program.
Okay, thank you, Ben. Any questions on the TAP recommendations? Okay, entertain a motion on the. Go ahead, Harvey.
Recommend we move these TAP programs onto the General Council.
We have a motion. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed. Okay. Well, we've now done the TIP, the STIP, the CMAQ, the TAP, and that all that leaves us is the CRP.
That's right.
I'm just going to leave right there.
Well done. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And if necessary, we can pass more ice creams out or something if you're all a little tired, or I know I've put you to sleep. Or we can pass data around and you can, or other relevant professional considerations, and you can have a swig of it. The carbon reduction program, brand new program. This is an exciting opportunity for us. This is to reduce CO2 is what these projects need to do. This project here, we've got 3 that were recommended in the Ogden-Layton area for a total of 1.4 plus million. 3 projects in the Salt Lake West Valley area for a total of 4.5 plus million. So going through the projects in a timely manner. First project is Roy Municipal Building electric vehicle charging stations for employees and the public. They're located at the City Hall. Is to construct 4 charging stations. Requested amount is 93,000 plus. TAC recommended the full 93,000 plus. Next project is a project in West Point. This is an intersection project at 1800 North, 4500 West. This offset intersection has significant backup, and the requested amount is a little more than $1 million, and the TAC recommended the full requested amount. The next project is in Syracuse. This is on the Antelope Trail Phase 1. This trail facility is also Safe Routes to School facility, but it'll enable the traveling public to travel on alternative transportation out to Antelope Island rather than drive out to Antelope Island and then ride their bikes. Requested amount was $350,000 for Phase 1, and the TAC recommended the full $350,000. I guess here we're short about $94. The next project is a UTA en route electric bus charging infrastructure. If you'll recall, back in the CMAQ funds, we programmed 1.7 plus million, and we're recommending a 1.5 million on this project. Sorry, CMAQ was 1.2 plus. The next project in Holiday, this is the signal optimization enhancements to about 19 intersections throughout Holiday. This will reduce the stopping at the intersections. That didn't come out right. What this does is it helps control the flows, so you get a continuous flow and the intersections are timed more with the platoons of traffic. Is that a little better, Wayne? Anyway, requested amount is $1+ million. And the TAC recommended the full requested amount. The next project's in Compwood Heights is on Highland Drive. This is for a protected trail bike ped facility on the east side of Fort Union Boulevard, or on the east side of Highland Drive from Fort Union Boulevard to Villaray Avenue. Estimated project request was $1.9+ million, and the TAC recommended the full requested amount. That's all of the CRP projects. That's all of the projects before you.
And this brings to the end of the Ben show. Phenomenal job today, Ben. We appreciate it. We need one more action on the CRP recommendations. Any questions for Ben first? Seeing none, anybody but Commissioner Harvey would like to make this motion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we make a recommendation to the Regional Council for these CRP items.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion in a couple of seconds. We'll let Wayne choose who had that second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Is there any other business that we need to discuss?
Mr. Chair, I don't have other business. I'd just like to make one brief comment, if I may. First, I want to express appreciation for Ben directly for all the work. You can tell a lot goes into this, not just preparing for this meeting, but in all the work in evaluating projects. And so I want to acknowledge and thank Ben and the other members of the WFRC team who are involved in this, Wayne, Hugh, Kip, and others. And then much more broadly than that, we don't do this work just at WFRC. We do it in conjunction with UDOT and UTA, and then all of the city and county staff as well. Those field reviews, the team goes out and visits every project site for every application that goes into that is applied for. And that's not just us. The communities go along for those site reviews. So there's a lot that goes into this collaborative development and programming of these funds. And so I just want to thank our team and our partners, and then all of your communities and your staffs for being involved in it. And we're just thrilled to be able to be helpful to you and all of your communities. And I'll note this is 1 year of funding. And if you didn't get the awards for everything that you wanted to, we do this every year. These funding programs are available. So keep thinking about it and looking forward for future opportunities to apply. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Next meeting is June 15th. Be here. Any further business? Please join me with a round of applause for Ben and his entire work today. Nothing like standing up in front of us, covering every bit of business that had to be done today and making ice cream sundaes at the same time. So thank you, Ben.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, we need one more motion then.
Motion to adjourn.
That sounded like a second from the that was fantastic. Okay, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.